Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. 2020 was a wild year for Mississippi State. The Bulldogs opened with a 10-point victory over number 6 LSU behind 623 passing yards from KJ Costello, but they then lost their next 4 games, 3 of which coming by at least 14 points. They kind of rebounded, had 2 narrow losses to Ole Miss and Georgia before finishing the year with a dominating victory against Missouri and a bowl victory against Tulsa. What does 2021 have in store for Mike Leach down in Starkville? So again, guys, welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, here to predict and analyze Mississippi State's schedule and record for this upcoming college football season. As always, make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and also make sure to check out everything down in the description below. That includes our brand new expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Sign up for those today, and go sign up over on Prize Picks. Use our promo code GRIDIRON by following the link down in the description. Go sign up today. We'll be with you every step of the way, giving you tips and picks each week, but you can't get them unless you sign up. So make sure to go sign up for all of those today before the season starts. So let's take a look at Mississippi State, guys. Again, 4-7 in 2020. A roller coaster every year. It looked like this could be a team that was a dark horse SEC title contender after the Week 1 victory against LSU, and then immediately fell from grace. Lost to Arkansas the next week, got blown out by Kentucky, lost to Texas A&M. Everything just fell apart for Mike Leach and the Bulldogs, but they seem to carry a little momentum into 2021. And we know that for Mississippi State, the entire key for this team is the air raid offense. How well can they execute the air raid offense? And many are still skeptical on whether or not if it can work in the SEC. But the Bulldogs threw for 296.3 passing yards per game last year, so it was working. They might not have been racking up the wins, but they were putting up the numbers. And Mike Leach finally found his quarterback in Will Rogers. The KJ Costello experiment didn't pan out. He also got injured, but Will Rogers stepped in, threw for over 1,900 yards and 11 touchdowns. He seems to be the man in charge, although Jack Abraham, the transfer from Southern Miss, is going to give him a run for his money. But the entire offensive line is back from Mississippi State. They have Jaden Walley in at wide receiver, 718 yards last year, was an all-SEC freshman last year. This offense seems to be in prime position with tons of returning talent to really improve from 2020. And it wasn't all that bad last year either. The same can be said for their defense. 8 starters are back, and I thought Zach Arnett did a phenomenal job with the talent that he had. Mississippi State had major questions defensively last year, and with what he was given, Zach Arnett produced a top 25 rushing defense. They only gave up 126.4 rushing yards per game, and produced one of the top defenses in the country, at least top half at least, ranked 52nd nationally, 389.7 yards per game. They now have a very strong secondary with Martin Emerson and Emmanuel Forbes, a guy who led the team with 5 interceptions last year. So the secondary should improve drastically after allowing over 260 yards per game, passing yards per game. And I expect the front 7, that's a little shaky right now, to get better as the year goes on, just like the team as a whole did in 2020. So the talent is there for the Bulldogs to make a little bit of noise. The talent is there for Mike Leach to get this team to a bowl game. But I will say, when you look at this schedule, they're going to need to do some good work in the non-conference, and they might have to steal a game or 2 on the road in conference play if they want to go bowling, if they want to reach that 6-6 mark. They open up the year at home against Louisiana Tech, and it should be known by now that Skip Holtz's Bulldogs, Skip Holtz's Louisiana Tech team is never a pushover. They're never an easy win. Don't chalk that up as an easy win, because Louisiana Tech is the real deal out of the Conference USA, and soon Skip Holtz should take a Power 5 coaching job. This team returns 10 starters on defense. They return a very experienced quarterback on offense. But the problem is, for Louisiana Tech, their defense was 81st nationally last year, and their offense was 117th nationally last year. So while the talent, returning talent and production is there, whether or not they can put up the numbers remains to be seen. And I'm not sure with an improving Mississippi State squad if Louisiana Tech can come into Starkville and get this quality win here. It might be close for a while, but expect Mike Leach to get the job done. They're 1-0. Their toughest non-conference game is in Week 2 when they take on North Carolina State out of the ACC. And I love this matchup. I love getting to see these 2 Power 5 programs, regardless of who they are, regardless of what conference they're from, getting to face off against one another. This is a game that I think is between 2 very even teams. I don't think there's much separating Mississippi State and NC State. The Wolfpack returned their star quarterback in Devin Leary. They returned their top 2 rushers in Bam Knight and Ricky Person Jr. They returned 9 starters on defense. This is a team that could be Dave Doeren's best that he's ever fielded at NC State. The problem is, one number sticks out to me, is the fact that NC State gave up 241.1 passing yards per game last year. And while they returned 9 starters on defense, do I think they have enough to come on the road? The key word there is on the road to beat the Bulldogs in Starkville? I don't. I don't know if Mississippi State's going to see a passing offense like this, with the exception of maybe Clemson. And I think that Mississippi State gets the job done on their home turf. They beat NC State, and I think they go on the road to beat Memphis, a team that was worse than the Wolfpack in stopping the pass, allowing 289.7 passing yards per game, which was 117th in the country. So the game might be close at Memphis. They're no stranger to upsets. They're no stranger to giving people scares, especially at the Liberty Bowl. But expect Mississippi State to do just enough to get that win. They're 3-0. And that's what Mike Leach has to do. Anything less than 3-0 for Mississippi State would be disappointing and would put them in a poor position in terms of making the postseason, because the SEC is tough enough as it is. But this schedule for Mississippi State is extremely difficult. At Arkansas, at Auburn, obviously drawing Alabama, going to Texas A&M. They draw a good Kentucky team out of the East. This is a very rough SEC slate where Mississippi State might only win a few of those games, which is why the non-conference games, the 4 they have, they need to win all 4 of them. Their first SEC game comes against LSU. As we mentioned, they beat the Tigers in Death Valley last year. The Tigers were the number 6 team in the country, reigning national champions. Mississippi State walked in there, threw for 623 yards, beat them by 10. Well, there's something to be said for revenge for LSU, and there's something to be said for they're not going to throw for 623 yards again. Bo Pelini is gone as defensive coordinator for LSU. He is out. The Tigers are going to have one of the best secondaries in the country, led by Derek Stingley, one of the best players in the country. Tag on Eli Ricks. On top of that, tag in that Miles Brennan is back fully healthy. I know he was last year for this game, but now he is again after LSU went 5-5. The game might be in Starkville, but LSU is going to get revenge. Plain and simple. This LSU team is poised for a big bounce-back year, and I think they're going to get it. So the Tigers come into Starkville and get the win. Texas A&M is going to get the win in College Station too. The Aggies came into Starkville, won by 14 last year. Now the game's in College Station. With 9 starters back on defense for the Aggies. One of the best defenses in the country. I don't see Mississippi State being able to come on the road and win this game. They got a very solid secondary. They've got DeMarvin Leal up front on the defensive line. We're not expecting Mississippi State to run the ball much, but they're not going to be able to have any success against the Aggies if they even try. And we know that with as strong as A&M secondary is, it's going to be very tough for Will Rogers to get the job done through the air. I think they struggle in College Station. The 12th man, it's real. They drop their 2nd straight game. They get their bye week right before Alabama. So if I'm Mississippi State, I'm almost wishing it was against someone else, because, look, you never go into a game expecting to lose. You never go into a game scared. But I think everybody in the country knows that Mississippi State's not going to beat Alabama, despite the game being in Starkville. I'm sure Mississippi State fans and Mississippi State players would wish that the bye week was before Kentucky or before Arkansas or Auburn, someone that might be a little bit more winnable, a game that might be a little more close. But the Bulldogs lost 41-0 to the Crimson Tide last year. You're not going to see a 41-point swing. Alabama's going to be just as good as they were last year. They're going to take a step back offensively, maybe. But Bryce Young's the real deal. John Mechie's the real deal. And that defense, like A&M, will be one of the best in the nation. Mississippi State loses their 3rd straight. They're 3-3. I think they get their first conference win of the year, though, at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is just in a tough spot right now. Brand new head coach in Clark Lee. They have shown signs of potential on offense with Ken Seals running the show, but their defense is in a very tough spot. They allow 296.4 passing yards per game. And we know that Clark Lee is a defensive-minded coach. We're aware of that. It's going to take some time to build up this Commodores defense, guys. Vanderbilt's going to take it's a long rebuilding process. Teams like Vanderbilt, teams like Kansas, guys like that, it's going to take a while to build them back up to being just competitive again. No exception here. Mississippi State wins on the road. They get Kentucky to round out October, and this to me is a game that can make or break the Bulldogs' bowl hopes. Because you look at the month of November, very, very tough. At Arkansas, at Auburn, Tennessee State, we'll touch on that, and then Ole Miss, the Egg Bowl. That could be a game that determines if they go bowling or not. But this Kentucky game at home was extremely winnable, despite the fact that Mississippi State lost 24-2 last year. They fell by 22 points to the Wildcats, but let's keep in mind that the Bulldogs threw 6 interceptions. one of which was returned for a pick six. Another one set Kentucky up at the Mississippi State 2-yard line. So 14 points like that off of interceptions. Now I'm not taking anything away from Kentucky. That was an unbelievable defensive performance. But I am going to say that there's no way Mississippi State throws 6 interceptions again in this game. It's not going to happen. The game is in Starkville. We know Kentucky's going to have a good defense yet again, but we know that Kentucky's strength is going to be running the football. And the major key here is Mississippi State stopping Chris Rodriguez in that run game. Well, Zach Arnett, their rushing defense was 23rd in the nation last year, like we mentioned earlier. You shut down Kentucky and you force the Wildcats to win through the air. That's not something they want to do, and I don't think that's something that they're comfortable doing. They'll do it if they have to, but it's not their strength. They want to run the ball and bully you up front. And I don't think Zach Arnett allows that. I think at home, Mississippi State gets revenge against Kentucky. Their defense buckles up. They stop Chris Rodriguez. They force Kentucky to win through the air. They're unable to do so. Solid secondary, as we mentioned, for the Bulldogs. They beat the Wildcats, and that's huge. Now they're 5-3. They travel on the road to take on Arkansas. That was their first loss last year. Arkansas snapped their 21-game SEC losing streak against Mississippi State in Starkville when Mississippi State was ranked 16th nationally. Everybody thought the Bulldogs would beat Arkansas because they were fresh off that win over LSU, and Arkansas went in there, popped them in the mouth for four turnovers in that game, and beat the Bulldogs in a monumental victory for Sam Pittman. When you look at Arkansas now, they went 3-7 last year, which means if you translate that to a normal year, Arkansas was about 6-6, 7-5, most likely. They're coming off a bye week in this game. They returned 17 starters. They've got a dual-threat quarterback in KJ Jefferson, one of the best wide receivers in the country in Traylon Burks, and has dangerous secondary led by Jalen Catalon. Arkansas at home off a bye week, also maybe fighting for their postseason lives this late in the year. I'm going with the Razorbacks. They can win last year in Starkville with a team that's not going to be as good as they are this year. I like Sam Pittman and the Hogs. I also like Brian Harsin and his Tigers to win on the Plains. Auburn beat Mississippi State 24-10 last year, and we all know that Jordan-Hare Stadium is not an easy place to play by any means. Jordan-Hare Stadium is a very, very difficult place to play. And this is another one of those games where Mississippi State is going to have to shut down the run. Kind of similar to Kentucky. If Mississippi State shuts down Tank Bigsby in Auburn and forces Bo Nix to win this game through the air, the Bulldogs have a chance. Because I don't have much faith in Bo Nix in doing anything. Not to be harsh, I just don't. So if they shut down Tank Bigsby, Mississippi State has a very good chance of winning this game. But Auburn does have a very solid defense. Very, very solid defense. And I do believe that Tank Bigsby does just enough behind this Auburn offensive line to win this game for the Tigers. Not to mention home field advantage is playing a huge role, as it will for many teams across the country this year. Auburn wins this game. Mississippi State's now dropped 2 straight, but don't worry. If you're a Bulldogs fan, you're disappointed, you're losing, but if you have 5 wins or more coming into Tennessee State, you're set because they're going to beat Tennessee State. Boom! They've clinched bowl eligibility. 6 wins. So whatever happens in the Egg Bowl doesn't matter. Mike Leach is going bowling, technically for the 2nd straight year. Last year, count it if you want. But 2nd straight year, first legitimate year they're going bowling with the 6-win mark. They play Ole Miss in the Egg Bowl on Thanksgiving, and they only fell to the Rebels by 7 last year, 31-24. And we know how good Ole Miss is going to be. Matt Corral in this passing attack. The 7th-ranked passing attack in the country last year. The 3rd-ranked offense in the country last year, averaging over 500 yards per game. Ole Miss put up 550 yards on Mississippi State last year. But Will Rogers threw for 440. The talent is there for Mississippi State to win this game, especially in Starkville. They want it. Mike Leach wants it. Even up the series against Lane Kiffin between these 2 new coaches. But I just don't think the Bulldogs have enough. I certainly think that Ole Miss still owns the offensive edge, and if the Rebels improve defensively the way we think they will have just enough to come into Starkville to beat Mississippi State. It will be very close, just like it was last year. Even though Mississippi State got that late score, field goal, to cut it to 7 with about 2 minutes left. The score looked a little closer than maybe it was, but it was still a tight game. I think it's a tight one again, but Ole Miss will get the win. They are the better team overall. I think they have the better coach right now in Lane Kiffin. Things are trending up for the Rebels, and they will win their 2nd straight Egg Bowl under Lane Kiffin. Having said all of that, guys, Mississippi State, we have finishing 6-6. And if you're a Bulldogs fan, be happy with that. 6-6, you're going bowling again, especially with a schedule like this. That's impressive. Job well done by Mike Leach. You have found your quarterback in Will Rogers. He'll be around for a little bit. Your defense is improving as long as you can keep Zach Arnett. And again, when you look at this schedule, guys, I just don't see any other games where I could flip it. The only game that I really feel is a toss-up, one that could be turned into a win that we have pegged as a loss, is Ole Miss in the Egg Bowl. I still feel confident the Rebels will get the job done. So 6-6 for Mike Leach and the Bulldogs down in Stark Vegas. But for the second straight year under Leach, they are going bowling. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Also, make sure to check out everything down in the description below. Sign up for our expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Sign up over on Prize Picks. Do not miss out on that. Sign up for both those before the season starts. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.